Hi everybody, and welcome to the prep video for Class 25, our presentation workshop down in Giovannini Commons. In this class we will talk about the importance of articulation and communication and presentation as part of the foresight process. So as I mentioned in class the other day, we have two presentation formats that we want you to gain some experience with. The first is what we call the client presentation. This will be in class, the last week of classes, and this is where your client is in the boardroom and you've got a captive audience of people that are aware of your project and they care about it. They hired you to do it. And then secondly, we're going to have you work on what we call a conference presentation. So this is trying to communicate with people who may not have an awareness and a predefined interest in your presentation, but you still want to get your message out to them. So we'll work with both of these. So for the in-class presentation, I'm going to start with a quick video on the presentation capabilities of really one of the great presenters, Steve Jobs. So watch this video and look for the 2 or 3 or 4 key insights, and we'll talk about them in class in the workshop.
Anyone who has watched a Steve Jobs keynote will tell you he is one of the most extraordinary speakers in corporate America.
Who does the best job of that in the world?
While most presenters simply convey information, Jobs inspires. I'm Carmine Gallo, and today I'll walk you through several key techniques that Steve Jobs uses to electrify his audience. They're elements you can adopt in your very next presentation.
Welcome to Macworld 2008. We've got some great stuff for you. There's clearly something in the air today.
With those words, Jobs opened Macworld 2008, setting the theme for his presentation and hinting at the major announcement of the day, the launch of the ultra-thin MacBook Air. Whether it's a new notebook or the iPhone, Jobs unveils a single headline that sets the theme.
Today, Apple is going to reinvent the phone.
Once you identify a theme, make sure it's clear and consistent throughout the presentation. Think of a staff meeting as a presentation. So let's say you're a sales manager introducing a new software tool to help your team generate, track, and share sales leads. You might kick off your meeting this way. Good morning. Thanks for coming. I know you'll be really excited about this. Today we make it easier for you to make your quota. That's the headline. Easier to make quota. It's memorable, and it sets the direction for the rest of your meeting. It gives your audience a reason to listen.
So I've got 4 things I'd like to talk about with you today. So let's get started.
Steve Jobs always provides an outline for his presentation and then verbally opens and closes each section with a clear transition in between. Here's an example.
So that's time capsule, a perfect companion to leopard, and that's the first thing I wanted to share with you this morning.
The point is, make it easy for your listeners to follow your story. Your outline will serve as guideposts along the way. You'll also notice that during his presentations, Jobs uses words like extraordinary, amazing, and cool. He is passionate, enthusiastic, and it shows.
Incredible, unbelievable, amazing, awesome, extraordinary year for Apple.
You know, your audience wants to be wowed, not put to sleep. Too many people fall into this presentation mode. It's stiff, it's formal, it lacks pizzazz. We, your listeners, are giving you permission to have fun and to be excited about your company, your product, or your service. If you're not passionate about it, we're not going to be. Remember, Jobs isn't selling hardware. He's selling an experience. If you offer numbers and statistics, make them meaningful.
We have sold 4 million iPhones to date. If you divide 4 million by 200 days, that's 20,000 iPhones every day on average.
Numbers don't mean much unless they're placed in context. Managers, connect the dots for your listeners. Recently, I worked with a company that launched a 12-gigabyte memory card. 12 gigabytes! That number doesn't mean much to most people, so we put it into context. We said that's enough memory to listen to your music while traveling to the moon and back. Now, 12 gigs means something to me. Make numbers meaningful. One of the most effective elements of a Steve Jobs presentation is that they are easy on the eyes. His presentations are visual and simple. While most speakers fill their slides with mind-numbing data and text and charts, Jobs does just the opposite. He uses very little text and usually 1, maybe 2 images per slide. You see, you want to paint a picture for your audience without overwhelming them. Inspiring presentations are short on bullet points and big on visuals. If you really want your presentation to pop, treat it like a show, with ebbs and flows, themes, and transitions. Jobs includes video clips, demonstrations, and guests. He also has a knack for dramatic flair, and it's very effective. For example, when introducing the MacBook Air, Jobs drew cheers by opening a manila interoffice envelope and holding the laptop out for everyone to see.
This is the new MacBook Air, and you can get a feel for how thin it is.
What is the one memorable moment of your presentation? Identify it ahead of time, then build up to it.
With a little help from our friends, everything will work today.
And finally, rehearse, rehearse, and rehearse some more.
Let me show you how easy that is now.
Steve Jobs makes it look easy because he spends hours rehearsing. He cannot pull off an intricate presentation with video clips and demonstrations and outside speakers without practice. The result, a presentation that is perfectly synchronized and looks, yes, effortless. Now,
Okay, so we'll talk about the video and the takeaways in the workshop on Monday. But let's go ahead and take a look at this process. Right here you are. You're just about to start this presentation and get building on it. And how do I start? Right? What's the way I identify that theme? And my advice would be to create this thing we call a purpose statement. Right? This isn't something that necessarily goes into the presentation, but it's the backbone of the presentation. If you figure out what are the main insights, the top 3 to 5 insights that your client wants to know, and you know what those are, then what you can do is create a presentation that just flows right into those and supports them all the way along. Start with that. If you know that, you're going to be in great shape. And then there's one more aspect. I want you to be really aware of who your audience is, right? And 2 main questions. Number 1 is, how much do they already know about your topic? If they need to know something and you don't tell them, you will lose them. But on the other hand, if you don't tell them something that they, or if you do tell them something that they already know, then you'll bore them. So there's a kind of a balance there of figuring out what it is that they need to be informed of and telling them that. And secondly, the question of what's in it for them, right? Why do they care about what you have to say? And if you understand those 2 questions, along with a really great purpose statement, and integrate the aspects of the things that Steve Jobs says make a great presentation, you will be in great shape for your client presentation. Now let's look at the conference presentation, right? So this is a totally different format. These are people that are distracted, they're not aware of what you're doing, and may not have much of an interest until they find out about it. So you have to create a clear, credible, persuasive argument and presentation that draws them in and makes them advocates of listening to what it is that you have to say. You have to overcome the chaos in the space, right? Whether it's on the web or in the conference room, the trade show sort of thing. You have to be able to overcome that. And finally, you need to be concise. You've only got their attention span for a few minutes, and so you really need to pay attention to that. And we're going to give you 2 presentation formats to work with. One is a web video format, and the other is a presentation poster format. So let's talk about each. I want to bring into this idea of the rules of 3 to 5, right? If you're in this chaotic conference sort of space, you need to pay attention to summarizing no more than 3 to 5 key points in a format that can be easily understood from 3 to 5 feet away can be presented in 3 to 5 minutes or less to an audience of 3 to 5 people. So keep this sort of guideline in mind as you begin working. If you're going to choose to do a web video, what I want you to do is figure out what platform you're going to use. And here's a couple that are available for free that are easy to learn, right? So Camtasia is a service it's fairly feature rich. It's a little bit more difficult to learn than the other option, but can give you a little bit more design creativity, and you can find that on the web. Screencast-O-Matic, again, is a free service that you can use, and it's easy to learn. It's what I'm using here to create this video. So do a quick search. You'll be able to find these, and look, they've got tutorial videos and that sort of thing. Look into that. And then in terms of the videos themselves, I've posted for you a handful of prior student videos. They're posted on Sakai. You can see them shown here. And go ahead and watch a couple of these videos over the weekend before the workshop, and it'll help you get your legs under you in terms of, hey, what's this thing all about in terms of a web video. I'll make the point that some teams are a little intimidated by doing a web video because maybe they haven't done a video before, or a poster seems safer. A lot of these videos were done by people that were at first thinking poster and thought, you know what, this looks easy enough and we can do it. So if you have an interest, take a look at the web video format. If you're going to do a poster, let me give you a couple of guidelines here, right? The first is, don't just do a cut and paste of your entire report into the poster. It's overwhelming. The reader, the viewer will get no value from that. So you have to go and do some actual design effort, and that'll pay off. So don't do something that looks like this. Secondly, this is what I call punching the viewer in the face with complexity, and it is just so chaotic and overwhelming that it pushes the viewer away. And be careful about going overboard on the crazy formatting and that sort of thing. Make it easy for the viewer to enjoy your poster. Do guide the flow of the reader. And there's some things that are very easy and obvious, but I like the idea of using some subtle design content to make that happen, right? So, I mean, you can see they changed colors. They've got different geometric boundaries at work here that sort of aim you towards certain parts of the topic. They use categories and columns and headers and that sort of thing. So think about using these subtle design features to enhance the flow. Do visually use data to support your arguments. So here's a 4-site poster, and you can see using data graphics with some real basic explanation to guide through the framing into the expected future and then on into the alternative futures. Really an effective way of bringing data and evidence into your topic. Do use images and color to add visual interest to your project and your poster. Don't overwhelm the reader, but if you've got a theme and icons and color themes and that sort of thing that can help really draw interest, that's a real effective way to make a more impactful presentation. So you say, all right, so use images and photos and that sort of thing. How can you find that sort of stuff? Well, there's one real super easy way, and that's to use Google Images, right? And you guys are all very familiar with that. I want to point out another one. This is a little bit more professional one. It's called Getty Images. Easy to find on the web, and they've got tens of thousands of searchable photos that might be useful to you. And the problem with this is that a lot of these are images that are for sale, okay, but they also have this royalty-free images capability. If you click on that, then everything that is there is stuff that you can use for free as long as you attribute the source. All right, so for copyright, we are in the fair use doctrine, right, because we're in the education space. So for everything you download and use, say courtesy of, image courtesy of, and give the photographer's name, and you'll be in great shape. Okay, do not post images that have a watermark across the top that says this is somebody's image. That's against the law and is a bad way to put into your presentation. Okay, so creating a poster, the easiest way is to use PowerPoint. And if you click on the Design tab and click Page Setup, you can basically set up a giant single slide, 36 inches wide by 40 high. That's the spec, and then populate it with everything you need to do and give you a great format to build, save, and print your poster. So our objectives for the workshop are basically to plan and develop your presentations, and we'll have lots of time and support on hand.